Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
And the protests are continuing in places like right here in New York City, where people are still coming out to let their voices be heard. But when you talk to the people here and you hear from the athletes and the politicians, the one thing they're saying is it's important for their voices to be heard now, but there still is a lot more work to do. Beside its popularity at the library, the book has had a historic impact. Snowy Day is the first picture book with an African-American protagonist to win a major children's award. 25% of black meteorologists in the United States come from right here at Jackson State University. Are you encouraged about where the conversation is right now in this country surrounding racism and Asian hate? We've seen the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, and that movement started growing over the last couple of weeks and months. The school's meteorology program has a notable list of black alumni inducted into its Hall of Fame that have paved the way for generations to come. Current students say they understand the responsibility to carry on tradition. The numbers, specifically about black coaches being hired in the NFL, as you said, it really isn't good at all. So it begs the question, is the Rooney Rule working at all with the NFL?
I'll say no. It hasn't worked at all. It's just it's a disaster. It's an embarrassment.
Subban and Simmons had the opportunity to visit the NHL's mobile Black History Hockey Museum while it stopped here in Newark, New Jersey during Black History Month. You spoke directly to a different audience this time. You directly addressed white America. Why the decision to do that? Post-slavery, there's been a history of displacement of African Americans along the Carolina coast, and it's that history that is part of the reason some in the Gullah community decide to not leave their land during a hurricane. One of the goals of the club is to grow the sport of hockey across diverse communities in America, and the way the Black Girl Hockey Club does that is by inviting black women to arenas like this where they can come out and enjoy an NHL game. Bacon Bursey's impact stretches beyond her being a trailblazer. She was instrumental in launching the meteorology program here at Jackson State University, creating labs like these to help minorities pursue careers in meteorology. Bill Parker is the meteorologist in charge at the National Weather Service in Jackson, Mississippi. However, within the NWS, he's the only black person in the country with that title.
We're still vastly underrepresented when it comes to African Americans in this industry. We still are trying to bring those numbers up.
Other black meteorologists agree.
Meteorology is not unique amongst the physical sciences. We're not there. And I think for most of us, it's a lack of seeing a role model like ourselves.
It's shameful that the numbers aren't representative of what the population is. There's some called implicit biases. And you want the people who are in charge of, who are working in that community, who are working as meteorologists or working any other job in that community to look more like their community.
Black meteorologists say the numbers speak for themselves. The American Meteorological Society, the largest professional and student meteorologist group in the country, reports just under 2% of its members are black. 2 decades ago, black membership was at 1%. Now the AMS is making strides to increase black involvement through scholarships and engagement between students and professionals.
They take you, 10 or 20 years to go from 1% to 2%, but going from 2% to 4% happens at a much more rapid pace. So we're hoping that that's what we're seeing.
25% of black meteorologists in the United States come from right here at Jackson State University. Faculty, alumni, and current students tell me that increasing diversity and inclusion is all about exposure and opportunity.
You need to capture kids during adolescence so they can see someone who looks like them in a field, that, hey, you don't just have to be a nurse. You don't just have to be a doctor. You push that on them, and they'll remember that. Those who have experienced exposure or opportunity are hopeful the field can become more inclusive, but say it starts with addressing the issue.
Until we can acknowledge that it needs to be a more diverse workforce in our agency and amongst meteorologists, there won't be anything done about it. So we have to push people to acknowledge it first of all.
The more the story is told, the more people are aware, the more people are exposed to some of the barriers that are still out there, then I think change will take place.
Reporting in Jackson, Mississippi for Accuweather, I'm Dexter Henry. In the National Hockey League are played indoors, but the roots of the sport are outdoors.
My biggest memory about playing outdoors is just your hands. Your hands get so cold from being out there, but that's why you got to work to stay warm.
When you're playing on the outdoor rink, you got the snow squalls, Zamboni, there's bumps in the ice everywhere, so it's kind of like you're playing with the bouncy ball, but it's really fun.
New Jersey Devils players PK Subban and Wayne Simmons love to have fun on the ice. They are the only two black players on their team in the league where there are less than 30 active black players. Growing up, both men told me at times nobody on the ice looked like them, and racism was a part of their experience.
When you're the only black player on the ice in a lot of hockey games, people are ignorant. So, obviously things get said.
As one of the top defensemen in the sport, Subban says despite the challenges he faced, his talent and work ethic could not be denied.
Obviously, when I stepped into hockey, everybody, could see that I was a black hockey player, but one thing that people knew is that I could play the game.
Subban and Simmons had the opportunity to visit the NHL's mobile Black History Hockey Museum while it stopped here in Newark, New Jersey during Black History Month. Both players said they love seeing the diversity of the sport on display.
I think it's extremely important. I think you got to know where you come from to know where you're going to go. And, with this truck, I think that it signifies that.
Man, there's a lot more history than I thought. When people talk about, oh man, there's like only a couple guys who played hockey, and it's like, you don't even really know the history behind, black hockey players and the game of hockey and the influence and what we're doing.
The NHL is the least diverse of all four major professional U.S. sports leagues. Less than 10% of the players in the league are black. However, with the museum touring for the second straight year, growing diversity on the ice is the goal.
In the black community, hockey's not huge, right? So, there's not a ton of exposure. And I think the more you push it, the more, you stretch it outside of the regular hockey bubble.
It's just a start, man. And I think that with all the black hockey players in the league, I think we're all supportive of where the league is going, and we want to continue to support, help, and also get in front of it and be creative with ideas of how we can grow our game.
In Newark, New Jersey, reporting for Accuweather, I'm Dexter Henry. It's the largest sea island in Beaufort County, South Carolina, St. Helena Island. Its residents have witnessed more than their share of hurricanes pass through this region.
Oh, it's a lot of cleaning up, buddy. It's a lot of cleaning up. Yeah, it's a lot of cleaning up. Lots of trees fall, lots of roof blow off houses.
Francis Major has seen it all, living on St. Helena Island for 71 years. Like many black residents on the island, his ancestry traces back to enslaved West Africans, the Gullah community. A community with deep cultural roots and a history of some not leaving when a storm hits.
I ride it out, and I ride everyone out. I ain't never left.
Among the largest Gullah community on the South Carolina coast, some stay to protect the land they work and the livestock they care for.
One of the reasons why I stay, when you go, you can't get back. You could be a while before you can get back in.
Residents keep their eye on the weather when a hurricane is approaching. However, when it comes to staying or going, elders in the community carry as much weight as meteorologists.
The elders have that wisdom. They have that wisdom of holding out for those storms for so many decades and generations. So a lot of times they have that wisdom on their side where they know.
Post-slavery, there's been a history of displacement of African Americans along the Carolina coast, and it's that history that is part of the reason some in the Gullah community decide to not leave their land during a hurricane.
If we think about New Orleans, case in point, a lot of people had to leave New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina. Those people that did not come back or could not come back for whatever reason lost their land. People are waiting for Gullah Geechee land to become available so they can come and swipe it. So that's a reality.
When riding out storms, Gullah residents usually do it as a family or group. They say their connection to the environment and togetherness empowers everyone.
It's in African Americans particularly, it's in Gullah folks particularly, because particularly when you live in such an open environment, you have a sixth sense about nature and what's going on.
Always a sense of strength, a sense of unity, a sense of community, and just that overall wisdom from those who rode the storms out before we were even here. So if they survive, we can too.
Reporting in St. Helena Island, South Carolina for Accuweather, I'm Dexter Henry. In NASCAR, while some make history on the track, a woman has made history working in a pit crew.
A lot comes with being the first to do something, So I'm definitely making trailblazing paths.
Brianna Daniels is NASCAR's first black woman tire changer. The 26-year-old has worked at races for the past 4 years and has witnessed a wide range of weather conditions.
Yeah, we've been in all kinds of weather. Shoot, don't get me started about the weather at the track.
Before drivers start their engines on race day, each race team watches the weather, but preparation is also key. Daniel's journey to becoming a tire changer began in 2016 when she attended the NASCAR Driver and Diversity Program Combine. Dealing with the elements became a part of her training.
We trained in hot weather, the rain sometimes, you know. Most of the times, though, like now we have like a little overpath. You know, like in case it rains, we can just pop under there.
Wet tracks are a no-go in NASCAR, but Daniel says there is one weather condition that can make her job difficult.
The heat, the work, yeah. Yes, it gets real hot out there, like to the point where if you're not drinking enough water, you're going to be dehydrated.
On some race days, Daniels works in 90-degree temperatures wearing layers of heat protective gear. She says there is one way she stays cool.
At this point, you got to think cool thoughts, you know, so you can stay cool a little bit, like, and pray and hope that your team has a big fan somewhere. It's even hotter, like, on the track, you know, and then imagine us, like, we're hot, too, like, just everybody's hot, like, shoot, that weather plays a great factor.
Even when the temps rise, the Virginia Beach native has to be cool under pressure when changing tires, in hopes that her trailblazing path creates opportunities for others.
To me being a black woman in NASCAR, like right now I'm one of the voices in NASCAR. I just hope that I inspire, you know, the next sister, the next brother to, you know, be a part of NASCAR because we need more diversity.
Reporting for Accuweather, I'm Dexter Henry.